left the wedding to have a security remove a 6 years old and calmly said the child wasn't his. Why now, in front of everyone, and why does he feel planned?
Remove him. Now. My husband's voice cut through the ceremony as security stepped toward my 6-year-old son. I was standing at the altar in my wedding dress, 204 guests watching, my son frozen in the front row, clutching a folded piece of paper he was supposed to give me. "That's not my child," my husband said, louder this time, calm, cold, like he'd rehearsed it. My mother started crying, no one moved. The guard hesitated, but my husband nodded again, like this was already decided. My son looked at me, confused, scared, while a stranger reached for his arm. "Mom?" he whispered. I felt every eye in the room shift to me, waiting to see if I'd let it happen. And then my husband leaned closer and muttered something that made my stomach drop. "Unless you want them to know the truth." For a second, I didn't breathe. "What truth?" I asked, barely moving my lips, but he didn't answer. He just stared straight ahead, like this was part of the ceremony, like humiliating a 6-year-old in front of 204 people was scripted between vows. The guard's hand closed gently around my son's arm. Leo flinched. That broke whatever shock I was in. "Stop," I said, my voice sharper than I expected. It cut through the silence, and the guard froze mid-step. Leo pulled his arm back and looked at me again, his eyes wide, searching for something steady in a room that had just turned against him. Ethan exhaled slowly beside me, annoyed now. "Maya, don't do this here," he muttered under his breath, still smiling faintly for the guests, like nothing was wrong. "You should have told me before today." "Told you what?" I shot back. Louder this time. A ripple moved through the crowd, whispers, shifting bodies, phones lifting just slightly. Ethan finally turned his head, just enough so only I could hear him. "That he's not even yours." My chest tightened, not from guilt, but from how precise his words were. Controlled, prepared. This wasn't a reaction. This was planned. Behind us, the officiant stepped back. My mother was openly crying now, clutching her seat. Ethan's parents didn't look surprised at all. They were watching me, not him. Waiting. I looked down at Leo, his small hand still gripping that folded paper, the one he'd spent all week hiding from me because it was part of the surprise. He wasn't crying yet. He was just confused. And that hit harder than anything Ethan had said. I reached for the microphone before I even realized I was moving. Ethan's hand caught my wrist, firm. "Maya," he warned quietly, his smile tightening, "if you stop this wedding, there's no going back." I looked at him, really looked at him this time, and for the first time all day, I didn't recognize the man I was about to marry. Then I pulled my hand free, lifted the mic, and said, "No one touches my son." The room went completely still. And then I added, my voice steady enough to surprise even me, "This wedding is over." Gasps rippled through the room the second the words left my mouth. For a moment, no one moved, like the entire ceremony had been paused mid-frame. Then the whispers started. Low. Fast. Spreading. Ethan didn't look shocked. He looked irritated, like I just ruined something carefully planned. "Maya," he said under his breath, still facing the guests, his jaw tight but smile barely holding, "you're making a scene." "A scene?" I let out a short, disbelieving breath. "You just tried to have my son removed like he didn't belong here." "He doesn't," Ethan replied quietly. That landed harder than anything else. 2 years. That's how long I'd known him. He met Leo when he was 4, sat with him at school plays, showed up to parent days, introduced himself as the bonus dad. He was the one who insisted Leo be part of the ceremony. Said it would make us a real family. Now he wouldn't even look at him. Leo had stepped closer to me, his hand gripping my dress tightly, hiding slightly behind me like he suddenly understood something wasn't safe. Ethan finally turned toward me fully, his voice dropping lower. "You should have told me the truth from the beginning." My heart pounded. "What truth?" His eyes locked onto mine, cold and certain. "I know he's not yours either." For a second, everything around me dulled, like the sound had been pulled out of the room. "Not mine?" I stared at him, searching for any crack, any sign this was panic, confusion, anything human. There was nothing, just certainty. Behind him, I could feel the shift in the crowd. The whispers weren't quiet anymore. People were turning in their seats, leaning toward each other, trying to piece it together in real time. Near the aisle, Leo let out a small, shaky breath. I turned instantly. A second guard had appeared, hovering too close. "No," I said sharply, stepping down from the altar. I reached for Leo, pulling him gently but firmly to my side. His fingers clung to mine like he was afraid I might disappear next. "I've got you," I whispered, just loud enough for him. Then I turned back, walking us both up to the altar again. Ethan's expression tightened. "Maya, stop." I didn't. I took the microphone again, my hand steady now. "Say it again," I said, looking straight at him. "Clearly, so everyone can hear you, a beat." Then he did it. "This morning," Ethan said, projecting now, "I received proof. A Dino report. He's not her son." A wave of shock hit the room.
He just put a DNA claim in front of 200 people right now. Why wait until the ceremony unless this was meant to humiliate her?
I didn't argue, I just tilted my head slightly, studying him. "So that's what this is about," I said quietly. Then I turned to the guests, tightening my grip on Leo's hand. "Then I think it's only fair," I said, lifting my phone, "that everyone sees the full version." The projector behind the altar flickered to life as I connected my phone. A soft glow filled the room, replacing the polished wedding backdrop with a blank screen waiting to expose something real. "Don't," Ethan said quickly, stepping toward me. The calm was gone now. "Turn that off." I didn't even look at him. "Everyone's already watching," I replied. A few guests shifted closer in their seats. Others stood. No one was pretending this was still a wedding. The screen lit up an email, time-stamped, dated, clear. "This," I said steady, "is the report Ethan is talking about." He scoffed under his breath. "Exactly," but I kept going. "Sent at 6:12 a.m. This morning," I continued, zooming in from an anonymous address. I paused just long enough for the room to settle into the details. "Except it's not anonymous." A ripple moved through the crowd. I tapped again, pulling up a second screen, technical data, headers, routing info. "It traces back to a private server," I said. "Registered under Cole Holdings." That landed. Ethan's last name, his family's company. This time, the murmurs weren't confused, they were sharp, directed. "That doesn't prove anything," Ethan snapped, louder now. "You're twisting." "I'm not finished." I cut in. I turned slightly, just enough to face him. "Tell them," I said evenly, "why your father was so interested in testing Leo in the first place." Silence, heavy, immediate. I held his gaze. "Or I will." Ethan didn't answer. Not right away. For the first time since this started, he looked unsure. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. I turned back to the screen and tapped once more. A new document appeared. Clean, official, unmistakable. "This," I said, "is the original report." You could feel the shift before anyone even read it. "Test completed 3 days ago," I continued. "Verified through an independent lab." I zoomed in, slow, deliberate. "Maternal match, 99.98%. A wave of sound hit the room, sharp inhales, overlapping voices. Leo tightened his grip on my hand, pressing into my side. I squeezed back gently. "The version Ethan received?" I went on. "Edited. Altered before it was sent this morning." I pulled up a side-by-side comparison. Same formatting, same headers, different result. "And I had this reviewed," I added. "The file metadata confirms it was modified after the original lab issued it." I paused, then said the part no one was expecting him to survive. "The edit was made from a system registered to Cole Holdings." This time, the reaction wasn't just shock. It was judgment. All eyes moved, away from me, away from Leo, and landed squarely on Ethan, and then his parents. His mother's face had gone pale. His father didn't move at all. Why? Someone in the crowd said, "Not even trying to whisper." I answered, "Because acknowledging Leo means acknowledging inheritance," I said. "It means he exists in this family whether they like it or not." Ethan shook his head quickly. "That's not." "Then say it isn't," I cut in, my voice finally rising. "Say you didn't know. Say you weren't part of this." He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That was enough. Chairs scraped. People stood. Conversations broke, loud now, unapologetic. A few of his business associates near the front exchanged looks and walked out without a word. His mother stepped toward him, whispering urgently, but he pulled away, too late. I knelt down in front of Leo, brushing his hair back gently. "You okay?" I asked softly. He nodded, but his voice was small. "Are we leaving?" I smiled just a little. "Yeah," I said. "We are." I stood, took his hand, and walked straight down the aisle we were supposed to celebrate on. No music, no vows, just footsteps. Behind us, everything unraveled. By the next morning, it wasn't just a canceled wedding. The emails had spread, the report, the tampering. Cole Holdings was being questioned. Quiet partners weren't so quiet anymore. And Ethan? He wasn't standing at the center of anything anymore. As we reached the doors, Leo looked up at me. "Mom, are we okay?" I opened the door, sunlight cutting through the tension we left behind. We are now...
What What's unsettling isn't just what he did, it's how prepared he was to do it publicly. So, how many moments like these are planned in advance, just waiting for the perfect audience?